Hello, Fabio is missing.
Hello, no, Fabio is coming.
It's coming. I
It's coming,
unmuted
okay.
you.
Sorry.
Hello everyone. Sorry, but I have problem with my computer, so I'm with the mobile and trying to fix the computer in the meanwhile. But we can start. Paolo can share the
Yes.
slides. We can start.
It's a simulation to open an incident for your PC.
Something like that. Waiting the slide. Okay, now we can see it. Perfect. Thank you, Paolo. Okay. So basically today with the maintenance meeting, we would like to go into the detail of the accounting part, the costing part, where we will discuss with you which are the different elements of the cost that should be taken into account in the accounting. Sorry for the repetition of the word, but in the accounting of the cost of the maintenance, and there are a couple of choices to be taken with the group here concerning the element of the cost. So we will discuss about that. We can go to the next slide, Paolo. Okay, so we discussed last time about the process of the tracking of the maintenance intervention on SAP. Here on the left, you can see the process, which is the creation of the maintenance order after the input of the maintenance sheet, which is received. Then there is, on the bottom part of the slide, the technical closing of the maintenance order, and we decide that along with the technical closing of the maintenance order, there is also the accounting closing of the maintenance order. This means that SAP will be able to, account all the costs that are considered into the maintenance order. Paolo, you skip to the next slide, but please stay on the previous one. On the 16, okay, thank you. And the main goals of the accounting, we can identify two main goals for these activities of accounting into SAP. So basically, there is for sure the need of tracking this cost from a management point of view in order to execute later, if required, an analysis and a monitoring of the cost expense for the maintenance intervention. But under a fiscal point of view, there is, the possibility and the need to systematize and automatize the recapitalization of the assets which are subject to the intervention of investment maintenance. indeed, if we have, let me say, an intervention, for instance, on a machine that increase the life of the machine, for instance, we put a new engine in order, we refurbish a machine in order to extend for 5 years the life of the machine, it can be subject to a recapitalization that has to be taken into account, that can be taken into account into SAP. So this is the main goal. For sure, this is not for all kind of interventions. For instance, if there is a regular intervention to substitute some kind of parts of the machine, this is not an investment maintenance intervention. For the one which are that we can identify them as investment maintenance, there will be, let me say, a specific field in the maintenance order to identify them as maintenance interventions of investment, and this can be taken into account in the recapitalization process. The main accounted cost that you can see here on the right of the slide that contributes to the accounting part of the maintenance interventions are, first of all, the cost of internal maintenance, since we're talking about an internal teams of people that spend their time, which can be, let me say, which can be taken into account on the different intervention in production, on the molds, on the general system, and so on. The first element of cost that can be taken into consideration is the cost of the material used in the maintenance process. So we talked about the spare parts that, let me say, the relevant one should be how can I say, registering to the master data, should be managed into the stock of the SAP, and we can into consideration their cost into the maintenance order. Finally, there is the cost of the external interventions in the case that there is an external supplier that does the interventions, and for this kind of cost we can consider both the cost of the services, so the maintenance activities run by the supplier, but also the cost of the materials used by the supplier. In this case, we are talking about materials which are not managed into the SAP inventory because they are used from the supplier, but we can take them into consideration in the accounting of these external interventions. I ask if everything is clear so far.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So in the meanwhile, I've been able to open the computer. Just a second. Okay. Let me enter in the meeting with my computer. Sorry, just a second. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. 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 We can.
Yes.
Fabio, do you hear us? Fabio?
Yes, it is
No, it is.
coming.
Yeah, my computer is not working, so yes, I continue with my mobile. Sorry, I can turn the camera on, but I have to continue with the mobile. Okay. Okay, let me share the screen from the computer in just a second. Okay. So now we are going to deep dive the single element of the cost to see the decision that should be discussed in this meeting. Okay. So basically, concerning the cost of the internal maintainers, we can say that there are three main possibilities that can be considered into SAP for taking into account this kind of costs. The first one is the most accurate ones, because there is the possibility to keep track of the time spent by the single worker. So here we are talking about the name and surname of the single workers, and combine it with the hourly cost that are given by the HR tables. And in that way, saying that Fabio Negri has worked 8 hours on a machine, saying that my salary is that salary, we can combine them and we can calculate the cost associated to each intervention, considering how much the single person has worked on the single intervention. So this one is the most accurate one, but if we are going to take this path here, this first possibility here is right to consider the fact that this may cause some trade union impacts, concerning the fact that here the solution would track the working hour of the people, and this may be, let me say, a situation that is difficult to accept by the trade union, especially for the big manufacturing company. So this is basically the experience that is present where we are talking about a big manufacturing company, where there is the need to track the time spent by the single workers on the machine, because in that case it's possible, let me say, there is the possibility on the system to see how much a single person has worked, even the fact that he has 8 hours of work. If we see that he's working only 5 hours on maintenance, this may cause, let me say, complaints from the trade union association. Lighter solution are the solution B or the solution C. So the solution B is a possibility that we monitor the, let me say, the time spent by the whole maintenance team without associate the hours to the single person, so without writing the name and the surname of the people close to the time spent, and combine them with the average hourly cost. So the result more or less is the same, because we are considered an average. This is something that usually is not complained by the trade union, because we are not talking about monitoring the single person, and this can be a good trade-off. Finally, the last solution is the lighter, which, let me say, the only point here is to track the time spent by the whole maintenance team, but decide not to consider it for accounting purposes. So here we are basically saying that the possibility to monitor how much time has been spent on the intervention, but maybe there is a team of 1-2 person, and thinking about a plant like the one in Magenta, that I don't know honestly how many people there is in the maintenance, but let's say that is 1-2 person. In this case, it may be possible to think about to just monitor the time spent by the whole maintenance team without consider them for accounting purposes. So this can be, let me say, the lighter situation. Here we would like to understand from your side which what do you think can be feasible from your side, whether there is the need to keep track of the cost spent on the single machine, to put that into accounting, or whether there is maybe just the possibility to monitor only, to have a record of the time spent without accounting it for accounting purposes. Who start to share their thoughts about that?
In the UK, we don't have anyone from our finance team on this meeting, but Grant and Adrian, what are your thoughts on this in terms of a preferred option?
Just really depends how accurate we can monitor the time. I mean, are they going to be logging on to a job real time as they're working on it and logging off? It depends how accurate we want to be, but maybe the second option.
Yeah, I suppose if you mean maintenance, we mean planned maintenance rather than breakdowns. You know, because if they go into Iris, the operator logs a breakdown, then how long before the engineer gets to attend the breakdown if they have other priorities?
Mm-hmm.
So that the breakdown may show for maybe 5 hours, but it's only took the engineer maybe 1 hour. You know, so you know just how it interacts with the information that we provide.
Okay, but in general, here we're talking about information that should be present. We discuss about, let's talk about corrective maintenance. You remember that we saw the maintenance sheet that should be filled out from Iris in case there will be Iris, the form used from Iris, and here the maintenance, the worker should state on the form of the maintenance intervention how much time they have spent on the intervention. This is the way they should, this information is usable from the system because it's something which is stated on the maintenance interventions. Then we can have the possibility, yes, to track name and surname. We can have the possibility to track general hour from the general team, from the whole team. So yes, it's a choice that we should take. Yeah.
Fabio, is this data being driven by Iris then and integrated to SAP?
Yes, it's still, let me say, under discussion, but if we're talking about corrective maintenance, the target model that of the companies to have Iris. Then there is the necessity to, let me say, to evaluate the transition period, if there is the possibility to have Iris from the first day, or whether it should be defined a different solution, which can be the one with the support of SAP for the overall flow. But basically, yes, the maintenance form that we saw, let me see, in the first meeting, that one from Iris, which is currently used in Italy, that one is the target model of the group.
Yes, sorry, a comment about this part. We could start with a solution C, so without the accounting part, and in a following step to implement a different scenario in order to define the best approach in order to trace the internal cost. So we can define a different approach.
Okay, so maybe start from the simple solution and integrate, then activate the possibility to put into account also the cost. Okay. It's something that can work for, here we're talking with UK, but what about the other countries?
Mexico is agreed with the number C, with the solution number C.
Okay. Thank you, Jose. What about from Germany, Paul? Or I don't know if there is someone else from Germany today.
No, I agree with all the points. So we do it in the in the same way actual, so there is no change for us.
Sorry, I didn't get the last part. You say that you agree with the solution C, or
No, keep tracks. We can do A for no problem.
for you is doable also A?
Yes.
Okay. And what about Spain? We have
for Jerez, I think the A solution.
A solution, Gonzalo.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so basically we have here two countries that are more from a lighter solution, to consider, let me say, only the time spent without considering the cost, without put it into account, while other two countries that can go from the day one with the solution A. But we should discuss whether, it should be harmonized, or we can let me say, keep this different behavior, consider that it may be only the first step to go with the solution C and then activate in a second moment the B on the A. But I think it's more also as to consider also the accounting point of view, which can be considered from finance or controlling people. I don't know if you agree with that we should also evaluate the possibility to have, let me say, the final bless on that with the finance people. Maybe of the corporate, of the group, to understand whether it's possible to have a different behavior on the country to country, instead of preferring to have a single mobile for taking that into account.
I think we also need to wait on the decision on whether the data is going to be entered on Iris or in SAP, because that will affect the decision, I think.
Because you, just to understand, Frank, because you think that is more, let me say, for sure it could be more user-friendly, usable, Iris, and this can be a form that, let me say, can be, used as they do today in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking if the data has been entered in Iris by the operators, then it will be easier for that data to flow through to SAP. It may be more difficult for the data to be input directly to SAP. So I think once we have that decision, it should be a little clearer.
I would say, Fabio, it's a question more to the group, because the A seems to be more like intrusive. You see, even trade union may be involved here. It's more like controlling people, where for us employees, C would be more ideal solution. But if the group wants more control, they will go with A, whatever the answer will be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would leave it to them or people in higher management.
Okay, yes, we can ask, let me say, the opinion of the group from the management, considering that, let me say, the preferences that you expressed, today. I don't know, Simone, if there are other consideration to be done on that, considering the feedback that we received.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Thank you. So I move to the next slide. So basically that one, honestly, the main decision that should be taken here the model is pretty standard, since we are talking about material or external services also for the topic in the last slide. So I would like to align you on the possibility offered by SAP, considering the cost of the material. So here, for the material, we would like to have them taken into account, to have them associated to the maintenance intervention. And we have to distinguish between the two cases. The first case, in the first bullet, is the one we are talking about, a spare part which is codified in SAP. And for that, we think about the IRIS form, where the maintainer put the spare part that is used. This is possible only for the spare parts which are present in the master data. In order, he can select the spare part that has been used. When the form is closed, when this maintenance order is closed, this information from IRIS, let's continue say IRIS, is moved to SAP. SAP for these spare parts automatically remove it from stock if it's managed in the stock, and in that way SAP can automatically associate the cost of this spare part to the maintenance intervention. Otherwise, we can be in the case where there is a spare part which is not codified in SAP. So maybe because it's just a spot purchase of a spare part which is not usually, let me say, replaced. So there's no need to have that in the inventory, in the master data. In this case, what happens? In this case, may happen that the spare part is purchased with a purchase order. In that case, the purchase order can be associated with the maintenance intervention. So for this white bullet here, in that case, the spare part is not codified, but there is a purchase order associated to the maintenance intervention, and the maintenance intervention is linked to the cost of the purchase order. Otherwise, if we are talking about a spare part which is not codified, but is already present in the warehouse, so there is not a one-to-one relation with a purchase order because we are talking about something that is already present, it is possible to manually input, to manually insert the price associated to the maintenance order, if the price is relevant. I mean, if we are using little spare parts like screws or something which should not be relevant, it's something that is not managed in the inventory, something that should not put into account. But we're talking about something larger like an engine or something like that, can consider it as the possibility to manually insert the price into the maintenance order. This can be possible if, let me say, we are going to use the IRIS form. It can be foreseen on IRIS also this possibility as an additional field that, I mean, this is, here we are, let me say, written down the requirement, but we can consider this requirement to manually insert the cost of the spare parts, and this can be then communicated to SAP. This can be a possibility. If this part here is clear, I don't know if you have, let me say, remarks to do here. The first bullet here is pretty standard, declare what has been used. The second one, we are not declaring, the maintainer is not declaring the single item code because it's an item code which is not codified, so it should declare either the purchase order used to purchase it or to manually input the cost of the spare parts used if relevant, if the spare parts is taken from the warehouse. Simone, as always,
probably only comment about the second scenario. The cost filled about manually is only a statistical information in order to trace the analysis for the maintenance part. The real accounting cost is already managed with the cost center or other component during the good receipt for the goods.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is important to be specified. So if we are in the bullet, in the second bullet, the holding accounting part is done with in the case of the PO, right? If we manually input the cost, if we manually input the cost, this is something that is only used for reporting or analysis, but not considered in the accounting process in this part, because it is already being considered, let me say, at the moment of the purchasing, no? With the cost center. Okay. I ask if there are questions about that. Otherwise, we can go on the next slide, which is the cost of external intervention. First thing, I would like to understand whether, let me see, in the other countries, we didn't discuss that, if there are external intervention. If you have suppliers that perform action on maintenance action on the machines, and if there are contracts defined for them, regular contract, because there is a regular service of maintenance intervention from external suppliers.
For Mexico, just we have a contract with Atlas Copco to help us with the compressor maintenance. That is the only supplier that we have a contract for that.
Okay, so for let me say, for a general service like the compressor, okay, you have a contract with Atlas, okay. Other cases, yeah.
One point, it's not just a contract, but external suppliers in general, because contract, it does not need to be a contract, it's external supplier.
Yes, sure. You create a purchase order for each activity from the vendor. Correct?
Yes, in system right now, if it's done, yes. So if we have external services, we create a service PO for that activity, but it does not necessarily mean that we have a contract defined. So the question my colleagues for Mexico, for Germany, for UK and Scotland is whether the maintenance is done externally as well as internally. So if you have suppliers which provide time material services externally. From Mexico, we understand there is Atlas Copco for compressor maintenance. The question is whether we have the same in other locations.
Yes, the contract is not mandatory. It's only an additional functionality in order to facilitate the service from the vendor.
No, infatti Simone, infatti è un po' scritto un po' male, perché non è necessario avere un contratto. Poi anche SAP crea un RDA, poi questa RDA viene trasferita, quindi un po' non è proprio scritta benissimo.
Sì, no, esatto.
Adrian and Grant, how do we handle external maintenance in the UK?
So we have the same. We raise a purchase order for any service visits that we have from any of the other vendors that come in. It would be good if you could put it against a certain job on the system, you know, so that activity would be booked out against that job that was raised on, say, Iris, you know, so.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
this is the point exactly. So if you're creating basically a maintenance request, it creates an object which is called maintenance order. So in SAP, whether it's done through interface manually, this is still to be discussed. But basically, you would have a purchase requisition, then a purchase order against that specific maintenance request. This is basically the suggestion that Deloitte is making for us right now.
Yeah,
Then,
I agree. You would have to have the job created first, and then you could book out the vendor against that job.
yeah, the question is from my side, from Sergey to Simone is, Simone, the idea is that we create the maintenance order in SAP starting from Iris, correct? Iris 4.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so we book that PO against that maintenance order with the information also of the cost center, I guess, of the order, or just the maintenance order. So yeah, right. Adrian, yeah, Adrian. So basically, yes, we would book it against this job. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, you can manage all the activity in Iris as you manage actually, and after it, the interface update SAP in order to collect the costs.
Yeah, the example of the country is just a possibility that is offered by SAP, by SAP, that in case there is a maintenance contract at the moment of the creation of the purchase order, it could be linked to the maintenance contract in case it is present on SAP. If not present, it's just a purchase order with its price, which is not linked to any maintenance contract. It's just an additional possibility. So yeah, we can say that the idea here is to have this possibility. Also in Iris, obviously, this is something which is not present on Iris, so we can, let me say, list that as a requirement that should be given, should be stated also for Iris, with the possibility then to post that link to the purchase order in SAP in order link to the maintenance order in SAP in order the maintenance order retrieve all the information related to the cost. Question about that from the countries?
Nope.
Simone, here is there something else that we would like to add or to ask during the meeting, considering the topic of the accounting, or?
Yes, only a question about the warranty processes. If you have a particular expectation or request for this process, or usually is a standard process in order to manage the call off from the vendor in order to manage the correction.
Sorry, Simone, the question was about the warranty.
The warranty process, if from country, the activity in order to activate the vendor for the warranty period is a standard call-off, or if you have a particular process in order to activate the vendor to manage the maintenance intervention.
In case of the machine is still under warranty.
Yes, it's under warranty period. Maybe you haven't this situation. I don't know.
I don't know if we can have a feedback from the country. How's the request for the intervention to the supplier in case of warranty? How this is done, if it's something that is managed in a particular way today?
That in addition, if you trace this type of activity in Iris, or it's only out of scope for the system?
Simone, cosa intendi? Me lo puoi spiegare?
Sì, durante il periodo di garanzia degli impianti, tu puoi attivare il fornitore per fare il supporto. Non so se avete particolari esigenze o situazioni in cui il fornitore lo attivate con servizio 24 ore o similari, oppure se questo tipo di intervento è fuori sistema, fate la chiamata e poi non tracciate in Iris né niente, ma è soltanto attivazione del fornitore.
È un intervento di
garanzia,
di manutenzione
Sì.
fondamentalmente con intervento esterno. Aspetta, ok, close. So yeah, basically the scenario that Lloyd is describing is, well, when we have a new machine or a new line set up, if there are issues during the installation period, and whether we have a coverage provided by the supplier or by the installer, and in case of an incident, so line stoppage, machine breakage, how this is handled. This is just a normal maintenance request done to a supplier, or if there is a separate flow for this kind of incident. Let's put it this way. I don't know if I was clear. I would say no, based on the lack of response.
Ok.
Okay. So we take also this point here. Something else you wanted to ask?
No. It's all from my side.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. Now, as we know, the first point to give you an update here concerning the landscape scenario today, that it has been a meeting with Quala Corporate concerning the possibility to have that the timing to have Iris to have Iris active on the country at the moment they go live on SAP. Now we will follow up internally, and we hope to come back you, let me say, with a scenario to work on, considering the process that we have defined to make clear which will be the landscape, whether there will be a transitional landscape or we can work directly towards a target scenario. So we will keep you updated in the next meetings. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 Bye bye.